Okay, who's here, and who's going to be here, and who's not going to be here. Okay, so how this is going to kind of work, every 30 minutes or so these cameras are going to be reset. So if you hear me repeat myself, that's because he was resetting it while I was in the middle, so I may end up repeating something. If you have a question, I ask you to repeat it, it's because he reset it while you guys were talking. Okay, so that way we can kind of go through and get this on.
And really, it's a 2-second push button again, so you can just take a pause and keep going.
Well, but they can't see is what I'm getting at. So, okay, so let's talk about the very, very beginning. Let's go very, very simple and talk about what is a currency. Okay, so we're used to dealing in U.S. dollars and well, not anymore francs, Deutschmarks, but euros, dollars. But what is currency? Currency is a common article for bartering. So obviously back in the day, we didn't have currency, or as we know it, so Indians dealt in shells, beads, fur, gold, US dollar, Bitcoin. That's what I believe the natural progression is going to be. So the point is that back in the day, currency could have been anything, just like now it can be anything. Anything that I'm willing to give you something for and someone else is willing to use commonly for, that is a currency. Does it make sense? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a new currency. And I know most of you guys are probably in here because you want investment advice and all that stuff. That'll be much later in the class. So what are some common elements of currency? It has to have a scarcity to it. It can't be easily created. Okay? And it has to have an integrity. You have to know what you're getting is what you're getting. Okay? In other words, integrity is where we come into counterfeit dollar bills. Follow me? So scarcity and integrity. Now that this is kind of interesting. So I was reading The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Which I love that book. Okay? So let's talk about scarcity. He had a really neat quote about scarcity in the book. And it's this excerpt from this guy who's talking about this planet or whatever, this group. He goes, "Thank you. Since we've decided a few weeks ago to adopt the leaf as a legal tender, we have, of course, all become immensely rich." Okay? But we have also, continued the management consultant, run into a small inflation problem on account of the high level of leaf availability. So here's our scarcity issue showing up, obviously tongue-in-cheek, which means that I gather the current going rate has something like 3 forests worth to buy a peanut. So in order to obviate the problem, he continued, and effectively revalue the leaf, we are about to embark on a massive defoliation campaign and basically burn down all the forests. I think you'll all agree that's a sensible move under the circumstances. So my point is that because scarcity has to be there. If we have too much of something, it has no value. There's no scarcity to it. So we're going to come to that later when we get into why does Bitcoin have value and what is the scarcity of Bitcoin. Okay? And just keep in mind, there's 893 cryptocurrencies out there. We're going to deal on Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe a little bit of Litecoin. So now let's talk about what is the underlying technology. I know we kind of skipped quickly. What is the underlying technology of Bitcoin? Why does Bitcoin have scarcity and why does Bitcoin have integrity? The blockchain. So what we have here is a piece of technology. If you hear people talking about, in fact, I just answered a reporter yesterday who sent an article out and said, hey, Bitcoin experts, which I don't like that term, but hey, Bitcoin experts, they're starting to use Bitcoin in real estate transactions. What do you think about that? And I said, well, they're not using Bitcoin in real estate transactions. They're using blockchain in real estate. They're not interchangeable. Blockchain is the technology. Blockchain is the internal combustion engine of the Ford. Follow me? So we can have a Litecoin that uses blockchain. We can have an Ethereum that uses blockchain. We can have a Honda that uses internal combustion engine, and we can have a Chrysler. Okay? This is the technology that makes it run. So what is a blockchain? A blockchain, in very, very, very simple terms, is simply a series of sequential files where the next, I know you can't read my handwriting, I apologize. Series of sequential files where the next file relies on values of the last one. So, what do we have? So let's say we go out to block, the first Genesis block, very first block ever created, block A. I need to write that. Every block has 3 parts to it. C, D, all the way down the line. Where it blocks something like 300,000 now, I don't know, whatever. So we go to the first block, and the first block has a value that should be derived from the block before. Okay? So this value here goes in the next block down. But we didn't have that, so we create our own value on our own. So we've got a block A that's got no header information. Okay? Transaction, 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 and then at the end we have what's called a hash. This is where my ability to break it down simply starts to fade. So we've taken all these numerical values. It doesn't matter what they are. It could be OXC3842, it could be 1234, it can be whatever. It doesn't matter. Everything's numerical values. So we take these numerical values, we run them through an algorithm, and now we have an identifier for the block. Does that make sense? Let's just call it block 14. So the identifier for the block is 14. Doesn't matter. It's a whole lot longer than that. Doesn't matter. The next block takes that 14 value, and now it's the header information. Follow me so far? I'm going to explain to you why this is important. Don't jump ahead of me. So now we take the 14 and we do transaction, 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 random hash, and now we come out with a 118. 118 goes to the next block. Transaction, transaction. You follow me now? Hash. Point is, in order to get the value of 118, I had to have put a 14 in for the beginning, and I had to have these transactions, I had to have that hash at the end. Okay? Why is that important? Who gives a flying shit what's in that block? Well, if I know that this has to be a 14 up here and these transactions have to be in there, if even one digit is off, even if you take the transactions, put them in a different order, hey, what's up? And that one digit is off, I don't have a 118 anymore. And because that ties into that block, and then that goes through, and that ties to the next one, I change the value of every block after. Make sense? Yeah?
How do you determine the initial value?
Well, the initial value was just plugged in by the guy who created it.
Okay.
Yeah, the very first block, we probably shouldn't have jumped to the very first block. That makes it a little more complicated, because that only applies to the very first block. Satoshi Nakamoto, who created this, is the one who created the first block, and he's the one who put the first value on. But the point is that because 14 feeds that, which makes 118, which feeds that, which makes 12, which feeds that, which makes 86, whatever. You can't change even the order of the transaction in the previous block without changing the hash or the token ID of the next block down. Why does that matter? Because now I can store this on 8,000 computers in the world and always know that my information is correct. We've just hit on the very essence of integrity. Every transaction that's in the system can't be altered. Because I have 7,900 other copies that go, oh, you try to take that transaction out where you spent 50 coins, the rest of the network goes, that's horse shit, the numbers don't add up, you're off the network. Until you get that fixed, you're off the network. You just hit the basis of integrity. Any questions? No? That just totally worked. I'm like, I don't even fucking hardly understand. Are you sure? Okay. So that's how the blockchain and this type of system works. And because we have integrity, we have a trustless system. I don't have to know that Jason has 3 Bitcoins to send me. I know that I have 8,000 people out there that they're going to push that transaction through because they know he has 3 Bitcoins to send me. I can send money to a guy in Africa and I can have it confirmed by a guy in Europe and none of us know each other. And we don't have to because it's trustless, there's no central authority, it has integrity, and we're going to get to scarcity in a minute.
It has unimpeachable integrity, apparently.
Correct. The only way, there's only one way that you're going to screw with the integrity of Bitcoin. It's called a 51% attack. Remember, this is a democratic system. So if 51%, and this is a very boiled down version of what happens, but if 51% of the nodes, and we're going to go over nodes later, let's just call them copies of the blockchain, copies of the transaction history. If 51% of the locations of the transaction history are located at, agree that this transaction didn't happen, well, if they can create all the blocks after that very quickly, then they can take over the network, they can change things. That's the only way you're going to do it. As it sits right now, you'd have to have somewhere about 4,100 nodes all doing it the exact millisecond in order to make that work. So that's what I'm getting at, is the more people that get into Bitcoin, the more people that run nodes, the more people that mine, the more people, whatever, the harder it becomes to screw this system up. It's just constant linear growth. Like how hard would it be to actually make the system not work? And people go, oh, well, shit, I mean, all my stuff's out there, everything else. Like why, you know, I don't like the fact that people know, you know, what I'm doing. Well, there's an anonymity to it, but I don't like the fact that transactions are everywhere. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Because this is the only way you're going to make a trustless system work that's decentralized, okay, that doesn't require a central bank. And if you don't think this is some libertarian wet dream, you're fooling yourself, man, because I love it. So this is exactly, because any bank, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but any bank that can transfer your money from one person to another can also tell you you can't. Make sense? That's what we're talking about here. I have a system here where the people in it are not known, the people in it don't care who you are, and the people in it have no control over what you do. If you want to send money to someone, if you want to conduct commerce, if you want to transact, you have the ability and the freedom to do it without governmental, banking, or anyone else's intervention. Let's say you happen to be one of the 0.3% of the people in North Korea who have a pot to piss in. You sell the pot you piss in, you get 10 North Korean bucks. I want to get it out of the country, it's all I have. You can convert that to Bitcoin, memorize your key, walk out of the country with it, no one knows. Come back to America or wherever you're going to go, type the seed back into your wallet. Again, we're going to go over these complicated issues later. But you can recover your money anywhere in the world. Because I've got 8,000 nodes out there that recognize your passcode and are going to give you your money. And no one can stop them. So, base of the blockchain. Any questions? No. Well, easy enough. So, what we're... Oh, liar. Nobody erase. So, let's go a little bit more on the blockchain. Does everybody know what an accounting system is versus a ledger system? Okay. So, the blockchain, at least in Bitcoin, doesn't keep track of every account in the system. So you want to know why? Because there's 10 to the 77th power, 10 to the 77th power, which by the way, there's 10 to the 80th power known atoms in the universe. 10 to the 77th power number of accounts out there. So an account only exists when a transaction comes through. The moment a transaction comes through the account, that's when the account exists in the blockchain. So let's talk about how the blockchain kind of does transactions. So we have a block here, and we have +3 to ABC, -3 from XYZ, okay? That's how the blocks look. There's nothing saying this XYZ sent it to ABC. Very, very basic anonymity, okay? So all we know is in the block, XYZ had 3 deducted, ABC had 3 added. This is the miner that signed off on it. Here's the people who confirmed it, and we know this is legitimate. We know this is how it works. So what you have here is what's called a ledger system, okay? Not to be confused with a Leger system who's sitting here in class. So, ledger system. Very first block, +5 coins here, -8 here, +3 there, -12 there, blah, 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 blah. When your wallet opens up, it doesn't go, I have 5 coins in my account. You don't have an account, okay? You don't have a balance in your account. You don't have an accounting system. You have a ledger system. It goes to the very first block, and it goes, I added 8, I subtracted 4, I added 8, I subtracted 4 more. How many do I have left? Oh, I've got 8. Follow me? Every time you open your wallet, it recalculates your balance based on the blocks that it's seen, based on the account that is attached to you. So that's what I'm getting. This is a ledger system, and the very first block has to be part of the system, or you don't, I mean, you can't have a balance. Does that make sense? Okay. talk very quickly about, and by the way, this is how all of them work. There's no balance in there. This is how every crypto out there works. It's a complete ledger system. And that's why every block just has transactions in it. It doesn't have balances. I mean, for crying out loud, we've got, you know, millions of transactions out there. Those blocks would be huge if we had to carry the account forward every time, you know. So, Bitcoin, short BTC, decentralized. What do I mean by decentralized? Well, it's spread out, like again, as I said before, 8,000 or so nodes out in the world have a copy of the ledger. Every 10 minutes-ish, again simplified, every 10 minutes-ish, a new block is created. That block has has the last hash from the last block, has all the transactions inside of it that have been signed off by miners, and it has a hash at the end where the miners tied it all together. That's what miners do, they verify transactions.
Fine miner.
Okay, well, it's going to be a little bit later on. I don't know, there's no good way to present this, you know what I mean? You got to go through so much shit in order to get, tell you what, let's do this. Let's go over the 3 parts of Bitcoin real quick. Users, nodes, miners. Okay, so users, nodes, and miners. So let's say we have this network here. We've got all these nodes that are all connected to each other, right? We have connected to these nodes are users, okay? Nodes are entry points in the network. Full nodes are not only entry points to the network, but they're entire copies of the ledger. You can open up your computer right now and install a program called Bitcoin Core, and you can forward a port through your router, talk to it's very simple, forward a port, and you will become a full node on the network. You will be connected to somewhere around 40 to 45 other nodes out there in the internet. Okay? Just automatically, just what it does. So you will be an entry point. If you have people here in Cape Girardeau, let's say you're the only node in this area, okay? You will be the entry point for people in this area to the network, rather than sending it to St. Louis or Memphis or wherever the next node happens to be that's close by. So nodes are entry points in the network of their entire ledgers. So again, they all get together and go, okay, yeah, we know this block is good, we're accepting this block, this is the block on the chain. And then they get together again, this is the block on the chain. And they all stay in sync with these blocks that come out. Users are obvious, I don't really talk about them too much because it's anyone who transacts in Bitcoin, okay? Miners are people out here with programs, devices. They listen to the node. And you open up your wallet and you go, okay, well, I've got 3 Bitcoins, I want to send Jason 3 Bitcoins. So I'm going to send him 3. What actually happens is I digitally, electronically, cryptographically sign off on that transaction so they know it's me. Okay, my wallet handles that. And it goes, subtract 3 coins from me, add 3 coins to the address I gave you. Okay? It transmits that to the closest node it can connect to. Okay? So the node now has this package. It has this transaction that's come through that knows it's legit. But the node doesn't know if you have the coins. That's not the node's job. The node simply takes the transaction, broadcasts to the other nodes, and somewhere along there, a miner hears it. Okay? Because they're attached to nodes. So they're out there. Like I have mining equipment here. Okay? And it sits there and it listens for transactions. It picks a transaction up, it goes, oh, account XYZ, okay. So let's go to the beginning of the blockchain and make sure that he's got 3 to spend. When it's good, it adds it to the block that it's working on. So it's constantly verifying transactions. It's a 2-handed system. So the left hand is verifying transactions for miners. It's going, okay, transaction's valid, he's not double spending, he's not spending coins he doesn't have, okay? He didn't program his wallet to send a transaction that doesn't exist for him. Makes sense? Like I can take my wallet right now, hack it, and go, I have 5,000 coins in my wallet. But the miner's not gonna let me spend it because he knows I'm full of shit. Okay? So he verifies the transaction, signs off on it. So the left hand is looking to make sure that I have the coins that I'm trying to spend. What's the right hand doing? Well, the right hand on that block we were talking about is coming up with this number right here. Without getting very, very complicated in the math, we're just going to say that that's a random number that makes this all tie together. He's just guessing numbers. And if it helps you put together how difficult that random number guess is, there's an equation that goes. The equation is written in such a way, the equation that makes that is written in such a way, and again, not a mathematician, so you have to trust me on this one. It is written in such a way that it is easier to guess a number and try it in the equation and see if it works than it is to actually figure out the equation. So that's what he does. The right hand just guesses numbers. Tries to figure out what the number is that's going to tie this block together. What is the number the network's looking for? Okay? There's a reason for that, but again, we'll go into that later. So he's guessing numbers over here, called hashes. Okay? And he's trying to create the next block because then he'll get the next payout of Bitcoin when the block's made. Again, something we'll cover later. So when that number is guessed, that block is signed off on, it's sent out to the nodes, now it's part of the network. Okay? Did that answer your question? Is that anything else? Or?
It's better.
Okay. It's not great, but it's better. So that basically, you just think of miners are the people who verify transactions to make sure you're not lying. You're not using a hacked wallet, you're not trying to scam the system. Okay?
Like
And
a little marker you put on $100 bills.
yeah, basically, yeah. So he's sitting there verifying, signing off. Now, the interesting thing is that since Bitcoin, it really started working about 2009, let's say the public started dealing with it in some capacity, between 8 and 9% of every transaction that hits the network is fraudulent. Somebody's hacked their wallet, thought, oh, I'll just spend some, it's probably some fucking kid in Ukraine who got a little hold of a little hacked wallet off of some website and thinks that he's just going to scam the system. Not a single one of those have ever gotten through. Not a single one has ever been double. We've never had a single double spend out of the millions of transactions that have tried. So it's a good system. It works. But anyway, I'm a little bit of a disciple, so take that with a grain of salt, I guess. So this is what, and this is good, because this is basically the decentralized nature. Okay? Again, why is decentralized important? Why do we care? Why does it matter? Because what's the alternative to decentralized? Centralized. That's the system we have now. If I want to send you money, I got to call my bank. Or I got to get my credit card involved, which is calling my bank. Okay? If I want to transact now, someone has to say it's okay. Okay? Which granted, yes, someone here has to say it's okay. But not that it's okay that Andrew does something with Dave. They're just saying that I have the money that I have. That's all. That's all they care about. So now we have a system here that you can trust. No one has a reason to screw anybody, and quite frankly, no one could. Because if this miner over here decides, well, I don't fuck that guy, I'm not gonna, like China tried once. This guy over here will be happy to put the transaction in. I've got 10,000 other people in that network that don't give a shit about what I'm doing. That transaction will go through. As long as you control my money, you control me. That's what I'm getting at. Which is why, as long as you have debt, man, you're not free. So, decentralized versus centralized. Centralized obviously goes through a banking system, goes through the Federal Reserve, goes through the U.S. government. If they can send it through, they can stop it from being sent through. Look at Venezuela. I actually, believe it or not, have, compared to the other governments in the world, have some pretty decent trust in my own government. Comparatively. And I know you're aching back there, but comparatively. So I'm not seeing like the U.S. government failing next week. You know what I mean? Like Venezuela did. But what you're seeing is because of this system here, this is the reason why a lot of people in Venezuela are eating right now. It's the only way they're getting any money in. They can't transmit money out of the country because the government won't let them. Who controls the bank? The government. Whose best interest is it they don't send money out of the country? The government. There's your problem with the centralized system. Well, yeah. We're not getting into the Federal Reserve, the Rothschild theories here. Now, let's talk about a very individual level. What's the pros of a centralized system? Well, I spend money with Carrie. Carrie doesn't ship the goods out. I call my bank up and say, hey, cancel that credit card transaction. Carrie didn't send my stuff. Okay? That's your pro. That's your only pro. And that's the con of the decentralized system. If I send him money, I've handed him $20 in cash out of my wallet. I can only get that back if he gives it back to me. There is no one, the plus side is no one can stop you. The downside is no one can save you. You lose your money, you're done. Might be a good time to talk about scams. We'll jump ahead a little bit. So, any questions so far? Yeah?
Well, I'm just thinking, like, when I use my credit card machine to check people out all the time, I'm charged a certain amount of fee, a certain fee, a certain fee, a certain fee. And in the month, it adds up to like $600.
Yeah.
So, like, is there some kind of a fee attached to all these nodes and
There is.
back and forth?
So,
And if that's in a different part, that's fine. I can wait.
I usually don't touch on that too much, but I will. So I'll tell you what, let's talk about fees and we'll come back to scams. Because there was a guy just recently who lost about $300,000 because he's a fucking idiot. There's really no way to, I mean, come on, who does that? So, this is going to get a little complicated. You know what? Let's not do that. Let's not do that. We can get real complicated, but let's not. Fees are variable. What do they usually equate to? Less than 1%. Let's go. It's not even a 1% thing. It's not even a percentage thing. We're going to have to get complicated to answer this question. So my wallet is actually +3, +4. We're going to keep it kind of simple. +5, +1, +8. Okay? So my balance is 7, 12, 13, 21. Okay? Let's just say 21. Which, by the way, right now is about $85,000. So let's just say it's 21. And I want to send Carrie 9 Bitcoins. Okay? I don't send +9 to Carrie. That's not what happens here. I send what's called an unspent output. In other words, these are unspent. That's why I have 21 of them. Okay? These are unspent outputs. These are the additions that make up my wallet because right now I have no negatives. Follow me? So if I want to send 9, I send this one through, and I send that one through. So +4 to carry, +5 to carry. That transaction will cost me more than if I just sent the 8. Whatever. Because those transactions take up more data, more just raw ones and zeros in the block than this single 8. Does that make sense? So it's not a percentage. It's a how much real estate are you taking up the next block. It's one meg blocks right now. 1 meg blocks. And we have to fit everybody in the world in 1 meg blocks. So I will pay more to go in the next block with 9 than I will with 8. Significantly more percentage-wise because of that. So your fees are a little variable. I moved $280,000 a few days ago. It cost me $30. But because that wallet had 4 transactions in it. Okay? Versus having one, like I have a mining wallet that's got 370 transactions in it. I can't move anything out of that wallet without charging me like probably $40 again, no matter how much I'm sending. So it's just, it's how much real estate are you taking in the block? How much real estate you're taking in the block while still factoring in how many other people are trying to use the block. It's market price. That's where your fees are coming from, market price. Fees are typically paid by the person sending it, not the person receiving it. Yeah. Like if you use a credit card right now, if you swipe a credit card at my store, I pay the 3% on that. It comes out of, if you send me $100, I get 97. $3 comes out of that. If you sent me $100 worth of Bitcoin, and let's say it was $3, send it to me, you would spend 103, I would get 100. Now, very, very brief, and I'll talk to you about this separately if you have more questions. But the only other fee that merchants have to worry about, other than the transaction fee, and the transaction fee goes to the miner who creates the next block. Okay, so it's not like a network thing. There's no company, there's no, God help me, I'm a fucking idiot down the library. There is no CEO of Bitcoin. There is no company associated with Bitcoin. There is no Bitcoin LLC. This is a group of people who are just like, you know what, this sounds awesome, let's do it. And the fees go to whoever is working for the network. So that transaction, that $3 that we talked about, would go to the miner. The fees that are attached to the transaction fees in the block go to the miner that solves the block. Now you see the incentive of solving the block. Okay, they get the transaction fees. They also get what's called a block reward, which right now is 12.5 coins. $40,000-ish. Every 10 minutes. I don't need to go there yet. So the only other fee that a merchant would have to worry about is, let's talk very quickly about accounting. If I pay you 1 Bitcoin, at that time, let's say a Bitcoin's worth $1,000. And we're going to touch on this a lot more later in the class. This is one of the advanced things. We'll talk about taxes and all that. But if I pay you 1 Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin's $1,000, and you immediately sell the Bitcoin for $1,000, well, you're just going to owe tax on the $1,000, okay? But let's, it's self-employment tax or, business tax, whatever you want to call it. If I pay you $1,000 in Bitcoin, you go, I got enough cash right now, let's see if this goes up. So you turn around and sell it 6 months later for $2,000. You still owe $1,000 employment tax, but now you also owe $1,000 capital gains. Businesses that transact in Bitcoin don't want to screw with the accounting because it's a nightmare. You got 1/3 of a coin here. You can break a coin down to 100 millionth of a coin. So it can get a nightmare real quick, okay? So what do? They tie their system directly into an exchange. So the coin goes straight to them, goes to the exchange, gets sold, they get their money. As far as they're concerned, it's a credit card transaction, just with a lower fee. But you're going to pay 1%, which is still about 1/3 of what you normally pay. But you're going to pay 1% on Bitcoin transaction because 1% is what the exchange charges to swap it out.
It changes to like a Coinbase.
Yeah, Coinbase has an interface for it, yeah. Certain point of sales will interface with it. It was kind of neat. A few years ago, I was in London, and I was using Bitcoin and Shoreditch underneath the soap. Oh, it was awesome. It was right there on the. God, I'm such a nerd. So, what else are we talking about? So, centralized versus decentralized. I want to stress, a decentralized system, you are on your own. If you do not secure your coins, you're done. Simple as that. It's no different than having a wallet full of cash sitting on the hood of your car. If you don't secure your money, you're done. So we're going to go over how to secure some things then, okay? That'll be down the road. Does anyone have any questions so far? Really? Either I'm really good or you guys have checked out. No?
This
Okay.
is a smartphone.
Is it really? Well, this is my 5th one, so. Okay, so let's, you should have seen the first one, it's terrible. Let's talk about some terms. We already talked about hashes. We talked about double spends. Any questions on double spends?
What about scams?
Sorry?
Thought we were doing scams.
Oh yeah, shit, you're right, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna do scams, yeah. So this guy, the very first scam I'm gonna tell you about is you have to be very careful where you stick your money, okay? There are wallets taken off the Apple Store and taken off the Google Play Store at least every week that are just designed to take your money. You'll transfer your money into the wallet, and within about 10 minutes, the money gets transferred out. Where the hell does it go? Nobody knows. You've got to read reviews. You've got to be careful. If you're going to store your own money, know what you're storing it with, okay? There was a guy who installed a wallet called Jax, which by all accounts sounded like a great wallet. It's still up there, by the way. Found a security flaw in Jax, okay? This guy lost 1,000 Ethereum. You guys have no idea what that's worth. As of about an hour ago, it was worth $265,000. Gone.
When was that?
Huh?
When was
That
that?
was about 6 weeks ago. Yeah, ish, yeah. Jax they found a huge security hole. They actually, from what I heard, they found it before it was public, which is usually what and then they didn't patch it. Someone else ended up finding it. Next thing you know, coins started disappearing. The 1,000 coins of Ethereum was just the biggest one that I heard about, but I think these guys got millions. I mean, it's just what it was. Jax is a closed source wallet, meaning the code for this wallet is not publicly available. And you go, okay, well that's a great thing. Oh, that's awesome. No, what that means is that nobody's reviewing it. It's just them. It's just a bunch of guys who enjoy the smell of their own farts telling each other they smell good. Does that make sense? Let the public, remember, decentralized public consensus system. Closed source software is not the way to go. Because the moment you open the source code to something, some little nerd who's just enjoying sitting in his basement is going to find a hole in it somewhere, and it's going to make that program better. Does it make sense? That's why open source software almost always works better than closed source. But anyway, so Jax, yeah. Let's talk about some other things. So there's unauthorized software, right? There's also, we're all familiar with phishing scams, right? So we've got this website, Bittrex.com, and I know I write it in an angle, just so Bittrex.com. Bittrex.com is an actual, it's a crypto exchange. So you would go on there, you would send your coins into the exchange, then you could exchange them for other coins and, you know, whatever. We'll talk about that later. The important part of this is someone copied that website, dropped the extra T. In a week, they had something like 6,000 logins. These people were misspelling it. What do you think happened to all their money? Gone. Now, Jax, what could have saved them? Using an open source wallet that was well known, that was well verified, and quite frankly, what retard stores $260,000 worth of coins on his phone? That probably would have been a good idea too. But anyway, so what would have saved him here? Does anybody know what that is? Two-factor authentication. What that means is that I don't type just a password in to get into my account. I have two factors for authentication. One would be my password, and one would be, let's say, a text to my cell phone, a text code to cell phone, or a verbal code to cell phone, or, even better, an authenticator. You can install Google Authenticator. That's one I use. And that's one Coinbase will use too. Well, it doesn't matter, they all follow the same algorithms. But so my point is, like when I log into my Coinbase account, which I don't keep money on Coinbase, we'll talk about that later. When I log into my Coinbase account, I used to have it text me a code. Well, text is kind of open. Text isn't encrypted. So I didn't do the verbal thing. I don't like people calling me. So what I did is I installed Google Authenticator. So when you go into your account on these exchanges, you always want to turn on 2FA. Even if it just sends you an email to authenticate you, that's still better than just having a password, okay? So with Google Authenticator, you can type in the hash, the code that they give you, and now it gives you a new code every so many seconds. And you open up the authenticator that's already programmed with the Coinbase code. And you go, oh, okay, well here's my 6-digit code on top of this. So now, this number that's changing all the time, a lot of banks use it if you're used to that. This number that's changing all the time, now they know it's me, because now I've got this extra code that came out of my cell phone from our authenticator, okay? So 2FA would have saved all those people their money, the people who went to the wrong website.
Well, they've got that now, don't they?
Yeah, Coinbase does, but some exchanges don't.
Bittrex doesn't?
Well, I would assume they do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, probably. But at the time this happened, they didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, this was probably about a year and a half ago. Unregulated exchanges. I'm going to preface this with, I'm very, very libertarian and I don't like regulations, but I will say the SEC saves a lot of asses. So, unregulated exchanges. There was a big one here recently, just got taken down in July. Registered London, I think. BTCE. It was kind of a Russian-English collaboration kind of deal, not entirely sure, to be honest with you. But everyone who had coins stored on BTCE, sorry buddy, US government took it down. It's gone. Were you gonna get it back? Who knows? So unregulated exchanges. The only way to get yourself out of that, because I mean, don't get me wrong, people were still exchanging. It was a viable, usable exchange, but because the owners never really set it up properly, it was considered unregulated. It was considered illegal, and the U.S. government considered it money laundering, international money laundering. Gone. So the people who had it on there, maybe they will, maybe they won't. Don't know. How do you save yourself from this? Don't store on exchange. Right? That's how you do it. If you don't store remember, the whole purpose of this is to put you in control of your money. If you store your money on exchange, they're in control of your money. So don't store it on exchange. Use them for an interchange, okay? Like Coinbase. I bought, I don't know, 10 grand last week or something like that. Yeah, about 10. It takes 5 days to go into my account. And what did I do? I transfer it to my own little hardware wallet. I use, well, one of these, which Dave, this is actually Dave's. We'll go over that too. But how do you save yourself from unregulated exchange? Well, do a little bit of research first. If I can't stress, if there's nothing else you get from this class, get this. You are entirely on your own. Entirely on your own. And that's extremely liberating, but it's kind of scary. Like you picked the wrong thing. So just do your research, see what you got. You can always get on my Facebook page and ask questions or whatever. But don't store on exchange. That would have saved a lot of those people a lot of their money. So what other scams do we have out there? Several ICOs and new coins. We're at the beginning stages of a completely revolutionary new way of doing things. So what's that mean? Everyone who doesn't understand it is susceptible to a bunch of guys who do, who know how to lie to them. So there's a bunch of new coins that are coming out that have all these promises. Anyone see the advertisement for DentaCoin? No? So all these new coins are coming out with all these great ideas, and we're going to change this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to blah, blah, blah. No, what they're going to do is you're going to buy the coin from them, and then they're going to run off with your money. How do you protect yourself against new coins? Just do some research. The first thing I do when someone comes to me, in fact, Ember Coin was like this. I got a pitch from a guy a couple days ago for Ember Coin. Sounded really great on paper. The first question I asked, kind of like when someone approached me, they wanted me to get into an MLM. Where's the money come from? What's subsidizing these payouts that you're talking about? If they can't answer that, you don't need to be investing in it. That's the general rule of thumb. If they can't tell you where the money's coming from, you don't need to be investing in it. So ICOs. ICOs are, it stands for Initial Coin Offering. You will see these a lot. The majority of the coins that are out there are ICOs. Well, the majority of the ones being advertised are ICOs, not the majority out there. Well, let's write that down. That's actually extremely important. I would definitely write down ICOs. So ICOs, Initial Coin Offerings. I can okay. Here's a very easy way to explain an ICO. I can take a company, I can divide it into 1 million pieces, and I can sell you all a piece of it. What's that called?
Initial public offering,
A stock. Yeah, same thing. I can take a company, and I can divide it into 1 million cryptocurrency tokens, and I can tell you those tokens represent 1/1,000,000th of the company. What's that called? That's an ICO. This is just a way for people to do stock offerings in companies, okay, without having to deal with the regulations. That's all an ICO is. You can think of it like an initial stock offering. You're buying part of a company in essence, or you're buying some promise of the company. There's one company out there I've actually been doing some research on, Russian Mining Corp. Did anybody read the other day about, I don't expect you to, but it's worth a shot. Russia just announced a $100 million investment into mining. Okay. That $100 million investment went into a company called Russian Mining Corp. Russian Mining Corp is offering an ICO. What they're offering is what's called a colored Bitcoin. We won't go into that. But it's essentially a sub-token on the Bitcoin network, okay, that you can trade back and forth. So if I want to sell you my shares, it's a great idea. If I want to sell you my shares of the company, I'll just transfer it to you. Don't have to call Charles Schwab. Don't have to call E-Trade. Don't have to get online and change it. I can just literally send it to you like I send you a token on the Ether network. Okay? Terrible idea, because that's exactly why the SEC was formed back in the Great Depression, because people were getting in the stock market that should have gotten in the stock market. They were over leveraging themselves, and next thing you know, nobody's got a pot to piss in. When it comes crashing down, the middleman or the little man's got no money. Cushion himself. So the ICOs scare me to death. I used to really, really believe in people's ability to make their own decisions, to take care of their lives, and I started shopping at Walmart. So ICOs scare me to death, and I feel like if we don't get them reined in, and I'm not a guy who likes regulation, this is killing me to say, but I feel like if we don't rein them in, we're going to have another Great Depression. We're going to have a bunch of people overextending themselves. I read about a guy the other day who mortgaged his house. Really? I just don't get it. So anyway, so that's what an ICO is. ICO is a new coin. Again, the only way you're going to really protect yourself is just research and asking the right questions, and not getting so blinded by the return. Holy shit, 20% a year. Holy shit, that's 3 times more than the stock market. Not getting so blinded by the return that you don't pay attention to reality. You know what I mean? That's the only.
So the one question about ICOs I have, are all ICOs POSs, stakes?
Oh, proof of stake?
Yes.
No. You're hearing about those because they have great returns right now. Basically, a proof of stake is, okay, the more of that particular coin you own, the more you get paid in dividends, okay? Sounds really good. But if I have $1 million of some coin and I end up paying $1 million out in dividends, but I don't have any income to back up those other $1 million I put out, you just now have 2 million coins at half the value. But no, not all of them, hardly any of them actually, but the ones that are being advertised are, because they figured out that's how they can get people in, because of the great return. Knowing that it's really just a Ponzi scheme in a cryptocurrency. Because if I buy in first, where do you think that money's coming from that's paying me? The next guy who buys. It's just a Ponzi scheme. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying all of them are, but like Ember Coin, nah, I don't like it. I know my friend Mike Butcher over in Oklahoma, he's all about it. I know, I'm sorry, but I think it's shit.
I've been doing a lot of research about Buzzcoin, and it seems the same.
Yeah.
They make you store your money in their wallet, and it just seems, that's why I wanted to mention it, because I think people need to know that it sounds good, but it's probably not.
Yeah. It just these ridiculous returns, these ridiculous ideas, and all that stuff. It's just that's the red flag when they're going, well, you're gonna get 20%, we guarantee. Well, Madoff said the same thing. So just remember that there's no promises, and if somebody's promising you something, they're lying to you. If they're lying to you, they're stealing from you. So how do you go against that? Just research and just going a little bit of skepticism. You know. There is one coin, I don't even know if I really call it proof of stake, I'm not entirely sure how it pays out, but there's one coin that I actually have a little bit of faith in, and I feel like maybe I shouldn't mention it. Well, I'm going to tell you. Okay, so preface this with, this is entirely my opinion, okay? I've done some research, I actually feel kind of good about OMG. Also known as Amisco. If that coin does what I think it's going to, I think it's going to be China's secondary coin behind Bitcoin Cash. But it actually does pay you out dividends. But here's the thing, they're turning it into a payment network. I might be wrong, that might be Neo. One of those two, do your own research. You're adults. But one of those two, they're turning into a payment network for Southeast Asia. They have an enormous number of people in Asia that do not have bank accounts, that need to be able to transact, need to be able to do things. So I can't remember which one it is. I think it's OMG. Could be wrong. I have coins at both of them. Not much, $1,000 worth each. But they're actually turning into a payment network. Point is, they have a system in place that's going to fund my dividends. Follow me? That's why I like them. It's not really proof of stake, as it more is like you're getting a dividend off the number of shares that you own. Okay? The other one would be the Russian Mining Corp. I've been looking at that one pretty hard. I'm not big on the idea that it's a colored Bitcoin. That bothers me. That's just a network issue. We're not going to go into that. But I don't know. I've been looking at that one pretty hard too. But anyway, I'm going to read you. I'm not going to read you. So we've got. Holy shit! It's only been an hour. We've been a lot longer than that. The last one that I personally kind of think is a scam in general. Some people have had it. Some people have good results, and some people don't. Cloud mining, and that just may be because I've been in it for a long time. There were a lot of cloud miners initially. There were a lot of scams. What a cloud miner is, you're giving them $600 for a 2-year contract on so much mining power. Follow me? And they pay you X amount over the course of time based on the mining power that comes out and all that stuff. I feel like if cloud mining was all that such a great deal, they'd probably just mine it themselves. Why get $600 from you and pay you out $1,000 over 2 years? You know what I mean? Back when I first started, a lot of cloud mining systems, a lot of cloud miners were scams. From what I understand, maybe that's changed a little bit, but I'd be really wary of anyone who's willing to tell me that I'm going to guarantee you a return if you just give me some money up front. You know what I mean? So.
I don't see how it can make sense because there's so many miners now. The chances of you getting picked are so slim. I just don't see how it can make any sense.
Well, now you're not solo mining in these kind of systems. You're pool mining with everybody else. So what they do now is like there's not enough. The average even country probably doesn't have enough money to make a significant investment to make them a significant part of the network. Okay, you're right. So what they do is they take my little hashes and this guy's little hashes and this guy's over here, and they put them into a pool and they all guess together. And then if that pool gets 12.5 coins and I did 10% of the work, then I get a coin and a half, or 1.25 coins. I get 10% of the coins. Follow me? And of course, that's adjusted for the transaction fees that are in there and all that stuff. So yeah, it's all pooled anymore. There's about 6 major pools out there. I didn't touch on this earlier. I jump around a lot. I'm getting better. So, what do we want to talk about? Very quickly, when I said earlier that Bitcoin was, I was going to go into scarcity, right? We never really talked about scarcity all too much. So every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network awards 12.5 coins to whatever miner or pool, really, created the last block. So there's your growth. There's your influx of Bitcoin into the system. So what do? We do it the rest of the time? No, we do it for 210,000 blocks, which is roughly every 4 years. And then we do what's called a halvening. We go from 12.5 to 6.25. And then in 4 years, we go from 6.25 to 3 1/8. So the block reward gets cut in half about every 4 years. So what happens at the very end? We get like nothing. Somewhere in 2110, 2114, we're done. We don't make any new coins. If you're a miner, you have to exist on the transaction fees. So I would imagine in 100 years from now is probably better than any mining reward you're going to get from us. So Bitcoin is deflationary. You cannot have more than 21 million coins in the system, period. And that means that if Dave has 100 coins in his wallet and Dave dies and no one can access that wallet, we just took 100 coins out of the system. They're going to sit in that wallet to the end of time. So Bitcoin is deflationary because we expect a certain number of coins. As more people use them, a certain number of coins disappear out of circulation every year. Because again, people lose their passcodes, people lose their wallet, they don't back it up correctly. We're going to go over all that. And now the amount of coins in circulation gets smaller and smaller. Obviously, you have the less coins mined. So we talked about the 21 million limit. If you want to know about ICOs, Dave's probably the only one who gives a shit about this, but let's talk about ICOs for just 1 second. If you buy an ICO, my suggestion, and I'm not saying this is the end all be all, and this is not like, well, in my opinion, you know, like investment advice. No, this is what I would do because I think it's easier. Okay, you get yourself an ERC20 it's just a protocol, just a way, just a whatever designation. ERC20 wallet, which your treasurer is. Okay. And if you buy an ICO, it would just be easier if you make sure your ICO is an ERC20 token. Because what's nice about that is that's an Ethereum token, which means you can just send those tokens over to your Ethereum wallet and they just show up as an extra coin. I'll show you all that. But if you're going to get into ICOs, it just makes it so much easier to worry about because there's a lot of ICOs where you have to have a separate wallet for the damn thing. Well, you invest in 10 of them, and then you got to juggle it. I don't think it's worth it. Especially when you're talking about most ICOs, like most companies are going to go out of business in the first 5 years anyway. Two terms. I know you guys are getting antsy. So here's what we're going to go over next. I'm going to go over some common terms you're going to see on the internet real quick. What a fork is, soft and hard fork. What do they mean when they say it's, and I'm just going to overview this real quick so you guys can like it. If there's something you don't really care about or you want to know more about, you kind of know what's coming. How can I buy and sell? Where can I go to buy and sell? What do they mean wherever it's anonymous? Where can I use it? That'll just take a second. And the very last couple of things we're going to go over is how to keep your money safe. So, two terms you're going to hear people talk about a lot. If you get on Reddit or any of the other websites, you're going to see HODL a lot. You're going to see people talk about forks. HODL is just a nerd term, stands for hold on for dear life. If you see the price go way up, everyone's hold on for dear life, we're going up. And then you see it go down, hold on for dear life, we're all gonna be really upset tomorrow. But the point is that don't lose your coins. Don't sell and buy on emotion. That's what it means. Just hold on to your shit. If you have faith in technology, in the technology and in how this works, which is why I started with that, then you'll know that just because it went down, shit, I lost about $90,000 today. I don't give a shit. It happens. I've lost 80% in 12 hours. And that was back when it was $400 a coin. Yeah, that was a bad day. It's what it is. But I understand the technology. I have faith in technology. And I have faith in how this is working. To me, this is a long-term investment. This little bit right here it'll come back. I'm not worried about it. Yeah.
So does diversification reduce the overall risk?
It does in the sense of, well, okay, here, I'm going to tell you what I've noticed. No. Because typically, at least in the last few months from what I've seen, is cryptos go down and cryptos go up. It seems like it's been very linear, and it's odd because it shouldn't be that way. But somebody out there is doing like a massive just crypto buy. My OMG, my NEO, my Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, all those went down about 15% today.
The only ones that don't are ICOs.
Well,
They're
NEO
kind of
and
all over the
OMGs.
place.
Yeah, NEO, OMG, and what was the other one? Once they're released on the market, they're market priced, you know. What you're talking about is before they've been released. Yeah, they're steady until that's what they're selling them at, you know. But the point is that just don't buy into emotion, man. If you understand this and really and see what's going on and see what's happening. If I had sold when it dropped 80% that time, okay, I wouldn't have been there for the $3,400 gain for each of those coins. You follow me? This doesn't make any sense. Why? So just hold on. Just have it. Use it, keep it, enjoy it. Forks. Now again, if you're day trading, that's different, but I don't get into that. I don't deal with that. Quite frankly, I don't have time to screw with it. So let's talk about forks real quick. So Bitcoin Cash, we talked earlier about how Bitcoin Cash split off the network, right? So we have what's called a soft and a hard fork. Soft fork is easy. We all run the same software. You want to have a certain feature on your wallet. I don't want that feature on my wallet, but it doesn't make a new network. We can still exist on the same network and transact with each other. That's a soft fork, okay? We've had features added, features changed, whatever. It just means that we have people on the same network that are using slightly different programs, but they're all intercompatible. We can still transact with each other, but we're not all exactly identical. Soft fork. Or we make changes like SegWit or what have you. Hard fork. Here's what's interesting about a hard fork. So we have all these blocks, right? So we're making these blocks every 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, we had this massive change in the network. Like August 1st, we had a change where we'll call it Bitcoin A supported something called SegWit. And we have Bitcoin shitbags, I'm Bitcoin A, who did not support SegWit. They became Bitcoin Cash. And we just remained Bitcoin. Here's what's interesting about a hard fork. We now have two Bitcoins off the same tail. So when I had 51 coins here, what do I have here? I've got 51 of the new one too. Because remember, all these blocks are just all the transaction history. If you're part of Bitcoin, that transaction history is part of this one too. I know it took me a while. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. It shouldn't. Like, why don't we just start over? But no. If you split off in a hard fork, at the moment of split, whatever you had in the system is what you have in the two systems moving forward. August 1st, and it doesn't happen this very often at all. August 1st, I woke up to an extra $35,000 worth of coins that I didn't even know existed the day before. Because they hit around $700. Where's it at now? About $450, something like that. But the point is that if the fork happens, well, you can cash out. You make some pretty decent money. That's where I think Bitcoin Cash is going to be. China's new coin. But anyways, anyone have any questions about this real quick? I'm kind of glossed over because it's not really terribly important, other than you know it when you hear a fork coming on. You kind of know what's going on.
Is that the only inflationary thing that can happen to it?
Well, that's just it. It's not inflationary. Because remember, it's two completely, it's like if the Bahamas all of a sudden went, okay, we're going to go ahead and create our own currency, right? But they said, but because we don't want to have mass panic, we're going to take whatever you have in a Bahama bank account, and we're going to honor that as the new dollar, the new Bahaman dollar. It's a different currency completely. But then the U.S. goes, well, we don't want a bunch of people pissed off they had money in a U.S. territory and then they lost it, quote unquote. So we're going to make sure you have 100,000 over here, and Bahamas going to give you 100,000 over here. But they're two separate currencies, so they're not inflationary. I know.
Is it similar to a stock splitting?
It is, except the fact that when a stock splits, if a stock is $100 a share, and it splits 2 for 1. So for every 1 share you had, now you have 2. The price goes to 50. Still the same dollar amount, dollar value, using twice as many shares. Okay. Whereas this is just a new currency is formed on the old transaction history. So you have those there. But the new chain is only valued like the old chain. Meaning if 100 million people want to use the new chain, it's going to go up. If they don't, it's going to go down. We've had 4, I think, maybe 5, probably off on that number. But we've had hard forks before off of Bitcoin. And you know why you never heard about them? Because the forks never amounted to shit. Like the last fork I think I looked at was like 0.4 cents a share, or a coin. So like nobody did anything with them. They basically became test networks. Like if we want to test something for Bitcoin, we'll test on that other chain that still exists on somebody's computer somewhere. But nobody uses it, so it has no real value in the world. Okay? So And to be fair, you guys all knew this was gonna be boring as shit, right? Like, I mean, we all knew this going into this. This isn't gonna be like, oh my God, I'm so glad I went. So do we want to talk about how to buy and sell? Or do we want to talk about anonymity and how you can get caught? Okay, we'll start with anonymity and how you can get caught. So the interesting thing about Bitcoin, we talked about earlier, there's no from address. There's no, Payne sent me 3 coins and I sent him, whatever. There is no from address. There is simply a debit and a credit. Debit and credit, debit and credit. So how can we get caught? If there's no from address, how do we know? Well, I can tell you what the IRS is doing. That's exactly what I thought they were doing. The IRS has set up nodes all over the place. Remember, nodes are entry points to the network. Okay? So they've set up these nodes all over the place, just like they did with the Tor network. It's exactly how they infiltrated the Tor network. So they set up these nodes. Nodes hear every transaction that comes in. Now, your information on the node, on a standard node, only comes in and goes out. The miner grabs it, sends it off. All the extraneous information, like who sent it, like my IP address, my designation on the network, is gone because it doesn't matter. The network doesn't care where you're from. The IRS does. So they start seeing these transactions come into the node. And what's attached to every transaction? Well, it had to come from some IP address somewhere. It had to come from some network identification. So my cell phone has a, what's up there? Running my, so it has this notification that says, okay, Andrew's IP address on the Verizon network sent this transaction in. Well, now they can start putting things together, can't they? Now they see that I sent 3 out, and they don't know who I sent them to, they know I sent 3. Now they just have to figure out who the 2 is. So down the road, that address comes in, and then Jason connects into one of their nodes, and he sends the 3 that I sent him. Remember the unspent output. And they see him send the 3. Now they can start tracking things in the network. So don't think this is totally anonymous. If you want, and this is as far as I'll go into it, if you want pure anonymity, trade in Monero. But as far as, and I own quite a bit of Monero too, but as far as anonymity goes, that's how they're figuring out who you are. So how else can I be found? Let's talk about the Silk Road. We've heard about the Silk Road, right? Big drug trade, right? Okay. How did he get busted? Anybody? So that when that dipshit got on, and I shouldn't say that really because he's kind of a genius on a couple other levels, but when he got on to a forum back in 2008 and just started doing Silk Road type stuff, he posted a payment address to himself. If you want to pay me, I think he was doing websites at the time. If you want to pay me to do a website for you, you can pay me in Bitcoin. Hey, it's only 8 cents a coin. By the way, it was 8 cents a coin in 2008. $500 in 2008 would be somewhere around $17 million right now. That kind of hurts. So he posts this address to send me Bitcoin to this 1BQ3 whatever, right? Well, he ended up using that same address again when he put in with Silk Road servers. So the government, which of course has nothing but time and my money, went through all these old forum posts and searched for that address. Sure as shit, nailed them. They finally found it from a forum post in 2008. You can recreate an address with every single transaction. It's easy, it's free, and it keeps you somewhat anonymous. You start reusing addresses, people start figuring out who you are. Okay? So the node being monitored, public address for yourself. Or if you do some obvious transactions. I moved 10,000 coins from here to there. Well, they're going to know who you are in the chain, who's moving 10,000 coins. You follow me? If you're moving 4.63 coins in the chain, you're probably the only one moving 4.63 coins. So obvious moves, public address, node you're connected being monitored. Let's see. Let's talk about some legitimate places that you can buy coins from. Places that I know are legitimate and regulated. That's what everybody cares about anyway, right? I make you sit through all the shit you don't care about, so that way you learn a little bit before I tell you all the things about how you can lose your money. So, exchanges. There's 2 types of exchanges. There's fiat to crypto, and there's crypto to crypto. Fiat currency, the US dollar. Government currency, that's all we need to know right now. Governmental currency. Crypto to crypto is I traded my Bitcoin for Ethereum, I traded my Ethereum for Litecoin. I'm going in between other cryptocurrencies, okay? This is good in the fiat to crypto. This is one I use a lot. Coinbase.com. It's a US regulated exchange, which I'm going to hand you a bunch of my money. I still hate to admit this, but I kind of like that. US regulated exchange. So expect to go through all the same stuff you're going to go through when you set up a bank account. I got to send in a photo ID, I got to give my social, you know what I mean? All the same stuff that you're going to have to go. The KYC, I think it's called. Is that right? KYC?
But because of that, it's also FDIC insured too, right?
I don't think so. I have not gotten a clear answer on that.
Well,
I think they're self-insured.
Something like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's like if you send in money through USD
Uh-huh.
into your USD wallet rather than buy.
Well, if it's in US
then
dollars,
it's
sure.
considered a bank. It's
Yeah.
considered a bank account, and if you deposit that way, based on what I was reading,
Yeah.
it is federally insured by the FDIC.
But I think once you convert it over to Bitcoin, that balance isn't insured anymore, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
But, I mean, you would think that people are going to convert it over to Bitcoin and then put it in another wallet anyway. So really, the only big
You
risk
would
is
hope.
while you're setting in USD.
You would hope. So you want to heard of Mt. Gox?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's U.S. regulated exchange. Again, tons of paperwork and all that. But you know what? The trade, you're going to do 1.5% for a bank transfer, and you're going to put 4.5% for a credit card. Well, okay, well, why the hell would I do a credit card then? So a bank transfer takes 5 days. Let's say you go in there and you go, okay, well, I want to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. I'm going to transfer the money from my bank account. If you buy the Bitcoin, you've locked in the price at that price the moment you said buy Bitcoin. But you don't get control of your Bitcoin for 5 days. So if you're a long-term holder, save the money. I'm not trading it every day. So I just bought some more, and that was fine. You're going to pay 4.5% on the credit card transaction, but the moment the transaction goes through, you have control of your money. If you want to sell the Bitcoin or trade it or send it or whatever. So what I have to do, since I do the bank account, is I wait 5 days for it to come in, and it emails me, and then I transfer it to my hardware wallet. So that's basically the gist of Coinbase and how it works. We've got, he told me something about that. GDAX. GDAX is owned by Coinbase. GDAX is technically a crypto to crypto exchange. That's why the fees are so much lower, okay? So if you want to go from Bitcoin to Ethereum, Ethereum to Litecoin, et cetera, et cetera. So your fees on each trade here is going to be 0.1 to 0.25%. The higher the volume, the lower the transaction fees. You can transfer, like you can transfer money into Coinbase, US dollars, and you can transfer the US dollars to GDAX if you want to deal with like it's a fiat to crypto. But if you want to get your money out of GDAX, it has to go to Coinbase, then go to your bank account. Okay? So GDAX is a good one. I use it quite a bit. What I like about GDAX, it actually lets you set up like automated trading. So you can set up orders. Coinbase is all market price. Okay, you know what I mean when I say like market, limit, stop orders, all that? Does that reference anything? No? Market price is, I have $1,000, I'm going to spend $1,000. Coinbase, go buy me some Bitcoin. Whatever the market price is at the time, just give me the damn coins. Okay? GDAX will allow you to go, oh, you have $1,000? Yeah, but I don't want to spend it unless Bitcoin gets down to 3,300. And you can put an order in, a limit order that says, when it gets down to 3,300, spend my $1,000 and buy me some coin. So GDAX is kind of nice. You're going to be actually doing like trading. Me, I'm just holding forever, so I just use Coinbase. Another fiat that's legitimate is Gemini.com. I think you can do limit orders on there too. I've never actually used it, but I've heard good things about it. Sean?
The car and the currency are both shitty.
Uh-oh.
He said, is
Oh,
fiat
yeah.
like the car or?
Not that I ever buy one anyway, but the moment, never mind, I'm gonna tell you who bought a bunch of them, but we all know. We're broadcasting this. Fuck that guy. Okay, so.
I know about that one.
So what's some other ways we can get them? Localbitcoins.com. What is localbitcoins.com? It's a way to buy bitcoins locally. Meaning, this is your Craigslist. Jason, don't get excited, but this is kind of your M for M over on Craigslist. You know what I mean? So, it's where you meet up with other people. Explain that to him, please. Tell him, please explain that to him. So this is where you, and I've actually sold on localbitcoins.com until I found out the guy I was selling to was a pimp. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. I had this guy come down from Marion. He would buy about $50 worth. He bought like two times. And the third time he comes down, he goes, hey, can you show me how to use it on this website that I use? And I said, well, yeah, that's cool, whatever. We're sitting down at Bel Air. This tells you how long ago it was. We're sitting down at Bel Air. And he shows me, and it's back page. Well, I can tell who hasn't cheated on their wife. So back page is where you list hookers. And he goes, hey, do you know how to make this ad better? I said, I need you to go home. Like, no. Like, you don't even get to finish your beer. You need to go. So yeah, I'm like, I don't want to know what you do. I think I know what you do, and we're done. So localbitcoins.com is a pretty much entirely anonymous way just to buy them direct from a person. If you want to deal as anonymous as humanly possible, localbitcoins.com. Because any of this, you're going to give away your identity. Not that I'm saying any of you people are involved in that. I'm just saying, for the sake of academia, localbitcoins.com. So what's your commission here? About 10 to 12%. This is not a way to get it for investment. And keep in mind, you're also having somebody come out and meet you. You're going to spend a lot of money to get them here. If you want to sell them on here, that's fine too. But about 10 to 12% is what you're going to make on them. But you got to meet the person. You get the cash from them. Whatever you do. If you decide to sell it on localbitcoins.com and someone messages you and say, hey, I'll PayPal you the money. Well, welcome to a central system that can take your money back. Don't sell it for PayPal. Get cash in hand. Because remember, if you send it, you can't get it back. But they can get back their PayPal. So don't fall for that. That's a common scam on there. So you got localbitcoins.com, and you got Bitcoin, and they deal in other currencies too. ATMs. Holy shit, we have ATMs. There's about 15 of them in St. Louis. If you want to know where they're at, you can look on and you want to know who else takes Bitcoin. Coinmap.org is a good way to look. Bitcoin ATMs will usually run you about 7%. Typically, there's either a $300 or $400 a day limit to what you can do without submitting your ID. You see why that guy who got busted at Anywheres was such a fucking idiot? All he had to do was drive to St. Louis, but whatever. Anyway, retard. I'm hoping we can cut that out of the audio. So Bitcoin ATM, 7%, coinmap.org. Coinmap.org is a great resource. Actually, if you want to know where you can spend it. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you have an iPhone, you might as well give up on that one. I don't think there's an iPhone equivalent to that. But coinmap.org and Airbits, and actually Mycelium, I think, has it too. Dude, we're going to put a pin in the scams. We're going to come back to that. A lot of other wallets will have it. Remember, when we're talking about wallets, we're talking about some guy who made the software. We're not talking about Bitcoin Core. Okay, these are all just interfaces for the core, for the Bitcoin network. So coinmap.org is a place where vendors like Computer 21 can go on there and say, we take Bitcoin. If you go to Cape Girardeau and you zoom in, you're going to see one lonely ass dot, and it's going to be my shop over behind Hardy's. If you go to St. Louis, you'll see a few more, and that's what I used when I went through Europe a couple years ago to go through Europe on Bitcoin for a month. What was that? Where's the next place to take it? Where's the next place to take it? All that. Europe and Asia is way more involved in Bitcoin than we are, just because they're used to other currencies. We're not. We don't understand anything outside of the dollar, you know. So, Airbit's, Mycelium, those are two wallets. I think Android only. The Mycelium wallet's on the Apple Store as of 4 days ago. It's a scam. Don't install it. The Mycelium wallet on the Android store is legitimate. It's what I've been using for years. Someone decided to put up a scam wallet for Mycelium on iPhone.
Is that NYCELIUM?
Yes. Yes. So there's places you can spend it. They'll have directories is what I'm getting at. Like I have a listing on Airbits as well. You can open up Airbits and it will go, hey, within 130 miles of you, there's one dude behind Hardee's. Okay, that takes Bitcoin. That's me. So that's how you can buy and really sell if you want to. I mean, you can sell on localbitcoins.com. You can sell your Bitcoins back to the ATM, get your cash. All these places are places you can buy and sell coins at. You can actually link it. There's a debit card you can get that you can link to your Bitcoin balance. You guys care about that? No? Okay.
Defeats the purpose of Bitcoin.
That's true. That's kind of how I look at it. So, where else can I use Bitcoin? Well, Venezuela's really hot on it right now. Japan, back in June, Japan actually officially adopted Bitcoin, Bitcoin specifically, not other cryptos, Bitcoin as an official currency in Japan. You can pay your taxes with Bitcoin in Japan. How awesome is that? Australia's talking about doing it. They're getting onto it. Russia should be sometime in 2018. I mean, these things are being adopted. And keep in mind, from the investment standpoint, this is an opinion only. Well, this actually is opinion. This is fact. The more people that use it, the more people that have it, the more it's worth. Because remember, we only have so many. So the big run-up we had this summer, a lot of people were like, holy shit, like Bitcoin went from like 2,000 to 4,000. Why? Japan. Japan's the world's second largest economy. Now all these little Japanese people over here are going, holy shit, never heard about this. So they start getting into it. You want to hear something kind of funny? So there's so they start getting into it, and they start figuring out what cryptos are in general. And what happens? Anybody know what Doge is? The Doge dog? The Shiba dog. The Doge meme, where it shows like, where it has a picture of the dog and it's like super happy and it goes, oh, much wow, super great. That? Yeah. So there's a coin, Dogecoin, made as a joke, just made as a political statement. The guy who created it lives out in California right now. And he created just as a statement of, yeah, all these other cryptos out there are getting kind of stupid. Like, why do we need 800 of them? You know what I mean? What's the deal? So he made it as a joke. Japanese people love that damn dog, okay? This coin, and I have 912,000 of them, because they're just joke coins. This coin went in 1 week from 21 cents per thousand to $4.18 per thousand. Holy shit. Yeah, I know. Just because they thought the dog was cute. So I thought about making a Hello Kitty coin, but I didn't get around to it in time. But anyway, so that's what I'm getting at. Like there's people coming into the network, into these systems that don't understand what this is about. So you're going to see a lot of emotion. You're going to see a lot of highs and lows, and it's just what it is. Just hold on. So
Russia has a Whopper coin now.
Yeah, what a load of shit. That's when you know that things are just getting stupid. Like, there's actually a cryptocurrency out there that will get you more Whoppers. Like, they're literally just decentralizing heart disease, you know. Speaking of heart disease, that woman in the back row just saved my life a couple years ago.
I love what I do.
Yeah. Cardiology nurse
Yeah.
caught my nerve that doesn't work. See, I know I'm a pacemaker. Right after that trip to Europe I was talking about, literally a week after I got back, they're wheeling me in. 9/11/2015.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk about how to keep Bitcoin safe. Shit. Okay. What time is it, anybody?
Like 7:35.
7:35, perfect. Okay. So I told you it's going to be a long class. So let's talk about how to keep Bitcoin safe. You've got things called offline wallets. okay? I can take the Bitcoin software and I can install it on a laptop that's not on the internet and will never be on the internet. I can take a throwaway laptop, I can install the software, and it will create me an account. And I can create addresses off that account. It'll never connect to the network. But do you know why that account exists? Because the account doesn't have to be made. All the accounts exist. But they're not active until that number shows up. Follow me? The moment account XYZ is credited 3 coins, now it's part of the network. So I can create that XYZ account anywhere in the world, on the network, off the network, whatever, and I can send money to it, and I can store the wallet on a USB thumb drive in my safe. Does that make sense? The wallet is a randomized string of about 4,000 characters that denotes my address. That denotes, not my address, let me go back, denotes my wallet account. The chance of somebody else randomly selecting that is so minuscule it doesn't exist. So we can randomly create all these files that we want and we're never going to double up on each other. We can create a new complete wallet, not address, you can have a ton of address on a wallet. We can create a new wallet for every transaction on Earth, and we would have enough wallets for 4 complete universe heat deaths. That's how many wallets we have. Until the end of time, 4 times over. So, again, you can install this wallet software on the laptop, never connect it to the network, get an address off it to send it to, okay? And you can send coins to that, never connect that laptop to the network, throw the damn thing away as long as you back the wallet file up. And then you're as safe as you can be. Because now you're not gonna have to worry about a virus getting a hold of that wallet file, malware, somebody stealing it, somebody remoting in, taking it, whatever. You're as safe as you can be. Does that make sense so far? Any questions about that? Because we're gonna talk about the easier way to secure your money here in a second, but that's a cheap way to do it. But the problem is the moment you load the wallet file the first time, now you're compromised. So it's very long-term kind of cold storage. Follow me? Hardware, well, my cousin helped me with some of these notes earlier. He works for the NSA, believe it or not. Holy shit. Ooh, we're going to edit that out too. Let me go back here real quick. The biggest thing you have to remember is that if you store your money on an exchange, they control your money. Do not store your money on an exchange. Do not, do not, do not. Mount Gox. I didn't really want to talk about Mount Gox, but we're going to talk about Mount Gox. Okay? So Mount Gox. Back in the early days of Bitcoin. And by the way, if anyone ever comes up to you and goes, well, I wouldn't invest in Bitcoin, it's been hacked. Fucking retarded, it's never been hacked. Bitcoin has never been hacked, there's never been a double spend. What has been hacked twice now is the exchanges. That's where people have lost their money. They haven't lost money out of their wallets because they were doing the proper security procedures, okay? They lost money because they stored money in exchange, and in this case, people who worked at the exchange took all the money, threw it onto an address on a USB key, got on a plane before anyone noticed, and gone. At the time, 500 million worth, I think. Yeah, I think. If my math is right, that should be worth just under 2 billion right now. Something like that. And as far as I know, we don't know who they are. We don't know where they're at. I guess for $2 billion, you can probably hide pretty well. So, but the point is though, they left their money on an exchange. They left their money at a central point where the money could be taken. So don't store it. So what do? We have our own wallet over here, our offline wallet. I'm a huge proponent of hardware wallets. Treasure. There's 2 good ones right now. And there's a Ledger. Nano. I use the Treasure device myself. That's what I set up for people. I'm a big fan of it. Ledger Nano is a thumb drive with a wallet software on it. I don't know. It holds more coins. It holds different kinds of coins and all that than the Treasure device. But I don't know. It just kind of scares me with the USB key and all that. But anyway, these are 2 hardware wallets. What's nice about a hardware wallet? Hardware wallets do not release any information that anyone can use to steal your money. Hardware is a physical disconnect between your money and your computer system. So, when we take this little treasure device, we plug it in Dave's computer, and he transfers his money to it. Well, he's not really transferring it to Ian, transferring it to the account that it holds, okay, which is transferred on the network. When you sign off on something with this, it only sends the actual transaction. There's no other information the computer can get. The computer cannot get into this device, and so far they've not been able to. It's an open source system, which means 1 million people have tried and no one's been able to figure it out. So the computer cannot grab things from the treasure. The treasure is a send-only device. Follow me now? So it can't grab the wallet file, it can't get your information, all that stuff. It's just a signing it off, sending it out. That's what the Ledger Nano does too. That's why hardware wallets are going to be the most secure way to have your money, but still have access to your money, unlike an offline wallet where you got to load it, then you got to send it to another offline wallet in order to store it again. You follow me? Just keep it separated with the treasure device. So, these devices will run 200 to 300 typically, somewhere in that range. So you go, well, shit, I'm only going to have $500 in the coin. If you're only going to put like $500 in, really, my rule of thumb for people is if you're putting $1,500 or less, it's probably not worth getting a hardware wallet. Just take the risk on the exchange. Just because for that amount of money, it's probably not worth all the effort you're going to have to go through in order to learn how this works. Shameless self-promotion. I sell these devices for $300, and they come with an hour of consulting, and well, more than an hour if you get more questions. But it comes with consulting time, so I will actually come out to your house, set it up for you, show you how things work, answer questions, and we will go over how to secure yourself. Because the biggest, most important thing for these guys, and really any wallet, is your seed. Remember how I said earlier that if you were in North Korea and you wanted to get that one pot you had to piss in out of North Korea, what would you do? You'd memorize your seed, and you can go to any wallet that supports that seed, type that seed in, and you've got your money. All a seed is a collection of 12 to 25, I think it is, 25 words that, when entered into a wallet, be it hardware, software, whatever, that supports that encryption type, it will recreate your address. Memorize your seed, and you can walk around with all the money in the world, no one ever knows it.
So if you've got one of these hard wallets, that code, say it's the sitting Coinbase, transfers to that wallet. If it's still out there, you said everybody.
Well, the address is out there, but the private code is not. So what you would do is you would transfer from Coinbase account 123, let's say, over to the treasure device XYZ. So now it's under this account over here. And then you would memorize the seed for that. Not really memorize, let's be honest, nobody's going to memorize 25 words. But yeah, I mean, I keep it, in different sections. What I've done with mine is I've essentially created what's called a multi-sig seed, multi-signature seed. I've taken my 25 words and I've given a section of each to 5 different people. And if I need to put it back together, I can do that. But no one can put it back together without the other 4 agreeing to it. So it just, from here, from once you get your seed out of there, now we start talking about physical security. Well, that's a whole different ballgame. How are you going to physically secure things?
So how do you know you're buying the right one? Because I just found one for $105.
Is it, what website?
Allthingsdecentral.com?
No.
Like, I don't know, like, if I would quote you.
No, that's not even market price on that thing. Just hold on, I'll go over that here in a bit.
111 on Amazon.
Now, 111, yeah, that might be right. They just went down a little bit.
Okay.
Hey, my consulting's not cheap.
Or the,
Well, I mean, if you're going to secure it, I think it is. I really do. Sit down and actually go, look, here's how we do this, here's how we're going to secure this. I actually have a deal. Do you guys know Will Perry? Have you seen him? He's got the manufacturing place down in Scott City. Just like etchings and anyway, laser cuts and all that. I've got a deal I'm working out with him where he's going to get, I think, if he doesn't, he's going to get certified to actually take this information and he's going to get certified for destruction. So you would send him your seed, okay? And then he would etch it into titanium for you so you could throw it in your gun safe if you wanted to and not have to worry about it burning up, melting, that kind of stuff. We're still kind of coming up with a concept, that's kind of the idea. I think what we're going to do actually is we're going to randomize the seed and we're going to take, like, if you have 25, we'll take 5 chunks of 5 and then you'll know what order to stack them into in your safe. But there's enough variation of that no one's going to sit there all day and type it. You know, it'd be too difficult. There's a bunch of ideas we're talking about, but how to make that seed a little more permanent. But anyway, so when you set up your wallet, we're going to do this when we set up this IAM token wallet that we talked about a little while ago. You're going to see what we're talking about. That's why you need the pad of paper. We're going to talk about writing down your seed and making sure that we can recover it and all that stuff. Because make no mistake, your seed is your money. Period. It is just an easy to remember account number. Or let's say easier than 4,000 random characters. I mean, 25 words is all that easy. But your seed is your money. If you lose that and you lose access to your wallet, we're a decentralized system, man. No one can get it back for you. And this isn't one of those like CSI things where I think no, you're fucked. There's like zero. We are not getting your money back. I cannot stress that enough. You have to secure this. Okay? This isn't a kind of sort of. Like all my clients go, well, I forgot to back up for 6 years. I'm sure you get my data back. No. Well, maybe I can if I do this and this and this, and all of a sudden the good ideas start flowing. No, you're done. You're done. That's all it is. So, and we're going to talk very quickly about one more thing for security, and this is something that I just kind of throw in because a lot of people for some reason don't do this, and I don't know why. It is not necessarily Bitcoin related, it's any online transaction, anytime you use your bank account online. Is anyone familiar with the term zero balance account? This is why we go over this. Okay. So, zero balance account. I have my working account and I have my zero balance account. My zero balance account has no ties to my working account. There's no overdraft protection. There's no, what else do they call that? There's a couple of things. There's no debit card on it. There's no nothing. This is just an account that exists as a number in the banking system completely by itself. No ties anywhere. If I want to spend $200 online, I transfer $200 in. Why do I do it that way? Because if someone's going to compromise my account, they're going to compromise the account I told everyone exists. I put it on Amazon, I put it on Google, I put it on all these places. If they're going to compromise my bank account, it's going to be right here. And I know what you're thinking. Well, if somebody compromises a bank account, according to you're probably not thinking this much, but according to the new federal law, I just get my money back. Well, sure you can, in 4 to 6 weeks. So if somebody drains your bank account, how the hell are you going to pay rent in the meantime? So that's my point. Put in there only what you want exposure for, and then use that to transfer the money out. Keep it at as close to a zero balance as possible, because if anything's going to get compromised, it's going to be an account that you told the world exists. But you have to be very careful. When you go down to the bank and you set it up, they will almost always, every bank I've been to, since I started doing this 15 years ago, has always put on overdraft protection. Well, overdraft protection just means it drains my other account. How the hell does that happen? Helping me. If this account gets drained, I want it to get an overdraft because I know it's fraud. I want it to stop. That's my stopgap for the rest of the world trying to take my money. Does that make sense? So zero balance account is what I work out of all the time. I put money in when I want to move it, and then I move it out. So the only exposure I have is the few days the money sits in there while I'm waiting for my vendor to take it. I've minimized my exposure for no cost. So, highly recommend zero balance account. Somebody asked me in the last class, what's the transaction fee on debit cards and Coinbase? And before someone asked me that, I just want to let you know I don't know. I don't know if it's treated like a credit card or a bank account transfer. I don't know. I just saw my note in here where I wrote down to look it up and I forgot to.
It's a credit card.
Is it a credit card? Okay, well there we go. I can mark that off my list. Does anyone want to go over current issues with Bitcoin and possible solutions? Or is everyone just kind of tired? Kind of tired, I get it. Okay, my voice is kind of going anyway. So we kind of went over the general idea of how can I invest, how can I buy, right? I mean, is there any questions about because I know really that's what most people are here for, is how do I buy,